Hello, welcome to Wardrobe School. I'm Vanya. This is where you learn how to make clothes and to upcycle clothing for yourself or to sell. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make a satchel bag from a pair of jeans. Okay, so I have these old jeans. You probably have like old jeans sitting around, and with only one pair, you can make this cool bag that you can wear a lot. Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching anywhere else, please share, send to your friends. And if you want to learn more about upcycling, just check my other videos, my Instagram, that's at Wardrobe School, and you'll find a lot of tutorials. All right, I hope you enjoy. And so what do we need to make this bag, right? We need a pair of jeans. This one was given to me by my father-in-law, so I'm happy to make a bag from it. And then we need measuring tape. Also, if you have a ruler, that would be helpful. I have this graph one. It doesn't need to be a graph one. You can have any ruler. Scissors, sharp scissors, right? I have two pairs. I'm using this one because this is kind of tough, so I'm gonna cut with the older scissors I have. But I think any scissors works. And the snipper, I just like to use the snipper for when I'm sewing because it's easier for me to cut the thread. Then this, very important, the seam ripper, the enemy, the frenemy of our sewists, right? We really needed to take things apart and all. Every time you upcycle something, I feel like you need the seam ripper, sewing pins, and then two things I have to talk to you about that are the sewing machine. So it's official, I collect sewing machines, right? And for this one, I thought if I use one of my Bernina machines, they have like they have a few parts that are not metal, and I was afraid of like sewing such a thick jeans with them. You know, I'm sure some machines, you know, the Singer heavy duty would do okay, and industrial machine would be okay. If you have like a plastic machine that's too light, I wouldn't recommend you to try to sew jeans because the machine is not gonna handle. That's why I took out of the box this one, that's the Singer 201, because it's okay, it's not industrial or anything, but I think it can handle, since it's all metal, it's old and it's 100% metal. I think it can handle the jeans if I go slowly, and you know, it's not gonna break anything. And then on top of that, I'm using the jeans needle, and I really recommend you to have that if you're gonna sew heavy duty. Not necessarily you need it doesn't need to be jeans that you're sewing with the jeans needle. You wanted to use this needle for any heavy material that you do. Okay, it basically is a heavy duty material needle, and it has like you know, the thing about the tip of this is that it stabs the fabric very heavily, and then it goes through and it doesn't break. Okay, and this one is size 16. You can get a smaller one, 14 or something, but for jeans a 16 is good. 14 would be good as well. Okay, so that's what we have. And then now I'm gonna start taking the jeans apart. One thing I want to say is, if you're watching this video just because of the machine, enjoy. I don't see much. I usually see videos of the 201, just like mechanics that fixed, and it helped me a lot because I've been fixing machines and all. But the mechanics, they always just do like they stitch. They're like, look, this machine can really handle many layers, and they put like 5, 8, 10 layers of fabric, and they test it, and it works wonders. But this is the real life sewing, right? Mechanics usually, they're wonderful because they know all the machines, but the details and tricks and secrets, but they don't really go to the, you know, to the real life, to the trenches, right? And sew a real piece. So that's why I feel like I'm gonna show you how this machine can handle, let's see if it will handle heavy fabric and make a real piece. Okay, it's the first time I do make a real piece on this machine. I got it a few months ago, but I just did embroidery and some light stuff. I didn't really create a whole piece on it, so that's the first time. Okay, enjoy. Let me know if you have questions, and let's do it. Okay, so first thing, we are going to remove all the extra things, right? So all the belt loop things, and then the label, and yeah, and then I want to cut this part. So, and to do that, we use the seam ripper, right? Just remove all the thread. Be careful to not cut the jeans itself. That was quick. Now all the belt loops. So you see how the belt loop has this like top stitch here that's like a extra reverse thing, right? So that's where we have to start. You can cut the thread on the top here and see if it releases a little underneath. Look, I managed to do it without ripping my jeans, and then I'm gonna take them all off. And here it is. All the loops are out, the label, right? And so now it's time to cut it. Woohoo! So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the waistband because I wanna use it later on. So I'm gonna just cut it here. Some parts are harder. Here it is. All right, the waistband, so I'm gonna put it on the side. And then let's see, where can we get the biggest piece for the body of this bag, right? I feel like only one leg is enough. So I'm gonna cut it right here. You know where the it's funny because it's like a clothing sewing class, but it's not. But you know, this is the crotch. So in the crotch line here, I'm gonna cut it a straight line, a kind of straight line. And then let's open the seam and see how large this is, right? And see, you know how, so depending on the jeans that you have, this is like a tapered leg jeans. So you see how here is high, it's wider than on the hem, right? Yours might be straight, it might be wider, or might be like bootleg. Usually bootleg is open here, closed, and then opens again. You probably want to straighten this line, but for now I'm just gonna cut it on the side, on the outside here, the out seam, and then because I want to visualize it and see how big is this material I have here to work. I don't want this bag to be too big, but right, so then I have this, and if I fold it, it's like that, but it's still kind of like short. I want it to be a little longer than that. So then I'm gonna use the other leg as well. We can open up, same process. All right, that's that. This part I want to save it, so I'm going to remove it. It's like this double seam, the inseam of the jeans. Sometimes it's on the out seam, it depends on the one you have, okay? But for me it's the inseam, so I'm going to remove it. And then everything else I can use to make the body of the bag. All right, so we have this strap, that one, and then we have this extra pair, extra parts of jeans, right? So if I calculate this, I kind of can have, you know what, I'm gonna cut this as well, and I'm gonna cut a straight line. I'm really doing the building as we go, so it's not, you know, there's no recipe, but I think I'm just gonna make a straight, because I want like a satchel, you know, like a straight long bag. And so I'm going to, now I grab my ruler, and that part that I just mentioned, you know, the leg here where it's wider, I don't want it wider, so I'm just gonna trace a straight line here, and then I can cut it I can cut it and then have like straight pieces that I can sew together. We're just gonna piece them together. Cutting 2 layers at once is not easy, so let me do one per time. There it is, right? So now we have all this, and it's kind of straight. It's not really, look, but I can trim it. Okay, and then honestly, we can just sew them together, right? So we can sew one line here and then another one, and then keep sewing, and then see what it comes out of it, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is to sew this. I'm not even gonna trim it. I know it's not straight, but I think I can do a straight line when I sew. So I'm just gonna attach these 2 pieces together. First stitch we're gonna do. Here it is. So the thing is, this machine is only straight stitch. It's old. It's from, I don't even know, from the 30s or 40s or something. I forgot. But it's older, and it seemed there didn't even have zigzag yet at that time. So we're gonna do all straight stitch. And if you have a serger, you can always, you know, serge this later or zigzag. I can zigzag with my other machine, but I'm just saying, you know, it's not gonna be done in this video, okay? Do reverse and go. Then I try to keep a straight line, even though, like, you know, the jeans are like curvy, weird, but let's see if she goes over the hem, right? Because the hem is like many layers. Look, it does. It's like a tractor. So here it is. We got that part attached. Now I'm gonna do the same process to the other side, and then we'll do see what we can come up with to put them both together. So there's one leg that I just put it together. I'm gonna put the other one, and we'll see. Okay. All right, look at it. So now I have 2. This one I just did the stitch on the other side instead of doing the angle one. I just did in the out seam of the pants, right? So now I have these 2 big pieces. It could be anything, right? But since we're gonna make a bag, so this, I know it works. Look, it's part of my bag, but it's missing this thing, this part. And then I have this extra one. I am happy with this width for my bag, and let me tell you how much it is. At the end, I can like just let you know how wide is my bag, but it's like 14, right? So 28 width, right? And I could just add some to this part or something, and then with the other angle of the seam, just to be fun, right? So I could add this piece here, for instance, something like that. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna straighten. First off, I gotta iron. Let me put those extra ones there. And I'm gonna press my seams open. See how there's the seams, or towards one side, right? If you plan on zigzagging later, I advise you to not open the seam, because then it's going to be open. If you want to zigzag them together, then you want to have the seam all to get 2 of them towards one side. So that's what I'm going to do now. Press your stitches, press whatever is not flat, because now, you know, so far we only cut like randomly, and we don't need anything to be straight or anything. It's better to work with straight lines, but the important thing is when you cut the bag, then you need a straight line, right? So all right, so we have both. This was the first one, right? So I'm just gonna trace. for that, you know what's good is a square ruler, right? So let me grab mine. Look, I just grabbed my square ruler, and then I'm gonna trace a straight line here. And then another one here, right on the edge. So I have right. And so one thing I do is I like to pin, if I'm gonna cut two together, I'll pin it so they don't move. There. And then another line here. And if you don't have a square ruler, you can just use anything that's a square, a book or something, to mark for you. Okay, it helps. Nice. Now, so this is the part for the bag, and I just need to add something. And because remember, I want to do it in a different angle, so I'm gonna cut this and add it here, I think. Right? I think that's good. I could possibly have used the hem of the pants, but I'm not at this time. I think my bag, I kind of wanted, let me see how long. So it was 14, right? 14 by 20, 14 by 19. I think 14 by 19 is a good length. All right, so I just need an extra seam allowance. Okay. And that's exactly how I do. I build things like that. I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because here I'm going to have to hem a little. And I think that's good, actually. So just make sure it's placed on a spot that I like. And then I'm going to trace it. And look, I'll keep squaring up because, squaring out. Because, you know, just to make sure it's not totally twisted. It's not going to be perfect because nothing's perfect in life, but I'm sure it'll be good enough. And then, you know, it's free. This is the way I'm making, and you can make the way you like, right? Just make sure you put the pieces together in order to make the size you like. Look, now I can cut this. I'm also going to pin it. And in fact, this can be the bottom of my bag. So here's my plan. I'm going to, so the bag is like this, right? I'm going to slice it here to sew back together later, yes, but it just makes more sense to me right now. And that's the position of my bag. So this is the bottom because it's closed, and then I can hem this part, right? And so now I'm gonna sew this to this, and the other side to the other side of this one, the other panel. I hope it's not too confusing, but I like pinning. So right side with right side, I put it here, I pin it. I always pin what I'm gonna sew if it's like, if I'm piecing parts together like that, because it's it doesn't get me confused afterwards, because when I move to the machine I'm like, oh, what did I do? And if it's pinned, I don't get confused. Okay, and then this side, and you know, it's just gonna be a long strip. Voila. So I already went ahead, I finished, and I went ahead and ironed the seams, and it's all good. Okay, I just want to give you a tip. If you want to have a better finish for this piece, you can do a top stitch on every seam here, so then you'll be kind of finished. Or you can zigzag here, or you can do both, or you can add a lining to it. Okay, I'm not going to do any of this in this video, but in my course I teach you how to do linings and seams and all of the stuff. you know, you just finish. This is just for you to have an idea. It's like to brainstorm and see how you can make bags out of jeans. Okay, so now one part that I love is we're gonna use the leftovers, right? And I know this jeans is like such a nice shorts now, but we're gonna tear it apart still. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is to grab the pocket, right? And it does have the Levi's thing that I shouldn't keep it, but I'll get rid of it later. You're not supposed to leave, when you alter a piece, you shouldn't leave the original label there because they get mad at you. It's not correct, right? Because they didn't make it, so it shouldn't have their label. But anyway, I'm gonna use this bag and no one's gonna be mad, I hope. So, but you know, make sure you don't leave your original label there. Okay, so I have this pocket, weird, right? And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stitch the whole thing on top of my bag there. I'm just trying to find, let me see. Should probably use the square ruler again. I love the square ruler, you can tell, right? Look, so this makes a square. And then if I go like that, that's the angle I was worried about because the pocket's not totally, yeah, look. Then I trace it here and then over there. All right, then we have a patch pocket. And I want to attach this pocket to my bag. Woohoo, right? And so you can fold it, fold the edges if you want, and stitch like that. I'm just gonna stitch on top of it, okay? But if you want, you can iron the edges and then do the top stitch and all. You can even turn this into two pockets, a double pocket. It could be, if you finish this part, this will be a pocket, and then there's the original pocket here, right? You can do that. I'm really just gonna sew right there because that was the design I was thinking of it, okay? So I was thinking of it. So but now where do I place this? Now that's the where we have to, what we have to think about. So first off, I know that this is gonna be folded. I will fold at least 1 inch because that's my hem. So here it is. I can even iron this 1 inch here. Okay, just press here a little quick, real quick. And then I know that that part will be folded. Yeah, I do iron on my table sometimes. It's okay. Is this to mark that folding line? Okay. Then see, it's already shorter, right? Because we already folded there. So that's the hem. And at the on the bottom of a bag, I usually do this little like square. You know, I like to keep it like with like a little width on the bottom. So I know also like I'm gonna use that, and that should be like this. So the bag pretty much comes from, and I'll show you how I do this in a minute, okay? But I do, so the bag length is basically just that. And then I can decide where my pocket goes. If I go lower, if I go higher or centered. I think I'll put a little sideways. Maybe a little higher here. Yeah, I think here's a good spot. And then I'm gonna pin it and just stitch around. And I might do a double stitch or something just to make sure it's attached. You know, one thing I'm gonna do is make my stitch a little, stitch length a little smaller. So instead of doing double stitch, I think that's a better idea. And how I do that, I have to move, yeah. So then the machine doesn't go as further, like faster, but the stitch is tighter, and then I know it's gonna hold up there. And then if you are using a zigzag machine, you can just go and zigzag it, right? The edge. It's like an applique, basically. That's it, a good reverse. And since I'm here, so the pocket's now attached. And since I'm here, I'm gonna do the hem as well. The opening of the bag, right? Can let this one go a little further. And look, that's it. Remove the pin, right? This is the bag. So the next step is to sew the sides of the bag, and then I'll show you how I do the corners to have that little foot, right? The base for it, okay? So just flip it, right sides together. You can press, I already press here, but if you haven't pressed your seams, always press your seams. Never forget, okay? And here's a good place to do reverse because that's the opening of the bag. You know, we always like open, as we use it, we don't want that seam to rip, right? So a good reverse. This machine sews backwards, it's so cool. And so, you know, I already attached it all, and I want to show you how I do the corner. Okay, so look at here's the opening, right? That's the bottom. And see how the seam is here? You just flip it like this, and then you're gonna do a stitch here. And that's when I pin it. You see? So the side seam is like in the middle of this, right? Because then later, then we'll have a base, okay? Same thing on the other side. Look, this is the side seam. Then I just open up like that. Make sure the seam is centered. Look, and then place a pin. And then, you know, it's good to compare to make sure both of them are similar, right? That your stitch is like the same distance from the tip on both sides. Look, okay, then I'll just stitch here and there, right where my pin is, right? Look, reverse, take the pin and go straight. And then the other side. And voila, I have the two sides. You can trim this if you want, or you can just stitch to the top here. Okay, I usually trim it, and I usually serge. I come with the serger and just do that, so then it doesn't unravel. Then our bag has a bottom. Look. Right? It's like the square little bottom. And you can stain, sort of. Look. All right, I like to do that because it gives shape to the bag. Look, it's a perfect bag for my size. I really like it. It fits like a notebook, books and stuff. Now what do we need? We need the straps, right? For the straps, guess what we're gonna use? The belt. And that little thing that I took from it's like the double stitch from the inseam. And so I think what I'm gonna do, I wanna put this here. All right, and then this is like for the shoulder, so you can carry on the shoulder from the thin one, or by hand, then this would be like a short one right here. Okay, that's the idea. So how long I need this, right? Let me see. Not much, like really even less. I feel like this is good just for the hand. So this is about 12. Okay, so let's cut it 12 long. And then this with the buttons, the coolest, right? So I cut the one with the button. They have to be the same length because they're going to be on each side. And yeah, so that's good. And then for this one, whatever you can get. So I'm going to use the whole thing. You know, if it's long, I don't like too long, but if you want a long one, you can, you know, there's some extra you can use and attach it, but that's good for me. So I'm just going to attach this one to the side, and that's when the machine has to perform because it's a lot of layers, right? And then I'm going to attach this one here. So first I'm going to do this one, and then we'll come back to do the 12-inch long one. All right. So look, this is the edge, right? But it has all the seams here. So I got to come with this one. And instead of placing on top, usually if it was just a thin layer, I'll just place on top of it. You know, just open the seams and place it right there. But I don't think it's a good idea. So I'm going to put a little further where there's not so much layers, okay? And then just sew with a lot of reverse. You can, I'm sewing on the outside of the bag because I like showing the work, but you can also sew on the inside. And I'm sewing like one inch in about, okay? And go slowly because even though the machine is strong, it's a little too much, right? It's not a industrial machine, so. I always do like this, like square. And then the last one, I do this across. It's like a diagonal one just to finish. Make sure it's really secure, because think about this is the bag strap. If you're carrying books and stuff, you want it to be really strong, right? And it's very secure. Now the other side. So now, because on this side, this is the front. See how my pocket is here? This is the front of my bag. I put the strap a little towards the front so it won't go on the seam, right? So the other side, instead of placing towards the front, to be balanced, I'll place towards the back a little. And just make sure the strap is not twisted. And then place it right there. And then I can sew. So then it's balanced when I'm carrying the bag. And look, isn't it looking so cool? I love it. I feel like the pocket should be a little lower, but that's, you know, it's all experimental and it's good. So now the last thing is to put the hand strap, right? And for that, we just need to mark the center of this. So how wide is my bag? This is 13. It was 12, right? I guess it So if it's 13, then 6.5 is the center. I just place either a pin or a mark here. And then from there, I know I can put my strap right there, okay? This is gonna be tough. I might have to undo this because it's too thick, but I definitely wanna have this one right here. Then I pin it, and then I'm gonna do the process. Stitch around here, and do the across like in a diagonal, all right, on both sides, and then we have a bag. And yes, you see how there's like all the layers, because this is the waistband, and then the jeans is like sewn in here, right? So there's way too many layers, because this is folded, and then there's the jeans itself, and then plus the bag itself. I tried to sew on the bag, it didn't work. So I'm removing, I had to open this seam here, and I'm removing these extra layers, so then I can sew there, right? I almost broke my needle. I don't recommend, unless you have an industrial machine, I don't recommend you to try and do this, okay? So I'm just opening up. And all this has to go, see? And you just need this square to be like less. Look, down there's way less layers. I can do it, right? I can even trim this one. That's too much. Look. And now it should be fine. Place it there. I mean, you know, it ruins the whole like top stitch of the original jeans, but that's okay. No one is looking like, oh wow, you didn't keep the original top stitch. You know, it's okay. So then I can place it there and I can sew. Look, it's not so bad, right? Let's see how it goes. I had to change the needle because the first needle almost broke, and it was you don't want to have a warped needle on your machine because it will create problems. Okay, so here it is. Let's see. This amount is fine. Here's gonna get a little tricky. Let's see. That's where the bunch of layers was. Now let's turn it around. This part is always a little tricky, okay? Don't worry. Let's see if, yeah, this amount, I think the machine can do it. Look, but here it gets a little too bad, right? So I'm not gonna go all the way to the edge. I'm just gonna stay where my machine can do. Look, this part here is too thick. It doesn't want to sew, so I'm just gonna go where it can. As long as you make sure it's secure there, it's fine. Okay, see how I'm not gonna go on the edge. I'm just gonna go in here where there's less layers, and I'll do reverses. And now I'm gonna do the angle one, which should be okay because in the middle there's not too many layers. And I'm not gonna go all the way here. I'm just gonna go where there's less layers. Look. And even if you want to do another on the edge, another stitch on the edge here, that's good. It's secure. The thread is 100% polyester, so it's pretty heavy duty. Look. Okay, it's there, it's attached. Now I just gotta do the other three. And voila, it's done. Look, the two straps. I definitely had to remove some layers here, but it's great. And look, the back. Now I'm thinking that my husband might want it because his father's jeans, or even his father himself might want it, right? So then I might just add a lining, because then if they use this bag for real, you know, men, they're like, oh, a bunch of stuff. So this is going to be unraveling. It's going to drive him crazy. So I'm thinking I'll just take black fabric, make a pocket, and then put it inside, and then sew around the edge here, and you know, the border of the bag, and then there's a lining, and that's it. And then this is going to unravel a little, but I think it's charming because it's jeans, right? And also this one, look, it's really cute. Shoulder strap, hand strap, nice for carrying things, and then the square bottom. Look, cute, right?